Sono davvero emozionata di essere qui oggi con TREY, uno dei più importanti musicisti cinesi che partecipa quest'anno per la prima volta al Festival Valtellina Le Altre Note. Welcome in Italy.
Thank you.
And welcome in Valtellina. This is your first time here.
Yes, my first time. I love it. It's so beautiful.
How do you feel here?
Well, I just came from China, from the biggest city in China of 32 million people. And then to come to the mountains and see maybe 32 people, it's a big contrast, and it's really nice because to have this kind of fresh air and the whole nature is very inspiring.
How do you feel in Italy? In Italy you won an important awards, right?
Well, I won a competition that was named for one of Italy's most important musicians, Antonio Janigro. So I guess you can say I have that connection with Italy. And I think, I've been to Italy many times before, and it's of course one of everybody's favorite places in the world. Whether it's for the culture, the history, the food. So of course I'm always very happy to come back here.
TREY appointment here in Valtellina, TREY concert. What do you propose to the public of here? Music?
The public has been really just so engaged and so focused in the concerts, because I'm playing in these beautiful, beautiful churches, I suppose very old and perfect in a way for the music, for Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach's music. A lot of it was written in churches or in similar places. So I think to have that, the acoustics, the ambiance of the church, and then to have the public sitting so close and so concentrated on your music, I think that always makes the performance very special, because you feel like you're more than one person. You're together with the public. And I think that's one of the most important things, because it gives us energy.
You propose something from Chinese culture.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. So one of the pieces I'm performing is from China, and it's based on one of the most famous novels called The Dream of the Red Chamber from the 18th century. And this is a really great, epic love story, tragedy. And some people have called it the Romeo and Juliet of China, of Chinese literature, because it's young lovers, but also young lovers who in the end cannot be together. And of course it's a very, very big, long story, so there are other characters. And so this music was written for the movie version, and the music became so popular because it was so beautifully written. Everyone was so emotional when they listened to this music that it's something I think literally everyone in China knows. So when I perform in China, like 1 billion people, they all know this music. It's a big pressure. But I also love this music. And it was written actually by my mother's good friend. And I did not know that until I listened for the first time. And she said, oh, one of my school friends, he wrote it. So I said, I want to play it on the cello, because originally it's for soprano, Chinese style soprano. And then I made it a version for cello. And yeah, tonight I play one song from many, many songs that he wrote. And
what's the name of this song?
It's very difficult to translate. It's something about having your not being able to have your love. So
it's complicated, like
very
love.
tragic, very tragic, like every story in this book. And so the music, when people hear it, they feel it. They can sense there's this tragedy about some love story.
Something of superb, I'm sure. And you are ambassador of Chinese culture. What means that for you?
Well, for example, this song that I'm playing, it represents really an important, very important part of Chinese literature. So, but nobody knows it outside of China. And so I want, for example, to bring this music to other countries and maybe make people curious about not just that music, but also the story, this novel. Because this novel represents so much of Chinese culture. It talks about not just the love story, but also Chinese culture in the 18th century. Their costumes, the food, the family relationship, the political history, everything. So when people read the story, they learn everything about Chinese culture and history 300 years ago.
But did you grow up in New York, or is it?
Yeah, it's very embarrassing when I'm in China and they ask, oh, so do you know this book? Or did you read this book? I said, I cannot read Chinese. I can speak Chinese, but I cannot read it. So it's very strange for me because some part of me feels more American than Chinese, and then other parts feel more Chinese, and then now I've been living in Germany, in Berlin for many years. So I have some customs where I feel more German, I guess. So I'm a little bit homeless.
Yeah, but with Donald Trump, do you feel more Chinese or American now?
Well, I feel safer, more Chinese. Maybe, but yeah, it's very strange for me.
I believe it. And how is change the new millennium for artists?
It's, you know, I think I feel very lucky that I have this cross-cultural life because I live in Berlin, but I go to Asia and sometimes to America to work. And so I see the differences. And I think in this new millennium is very, you know, there's definitely classical music and culture is growing, is booming in Asia, in Hong Kong and China. For example, in Hong Kong, every child I know has to study an instrument. And then the government, for the public schools now, they have classes that they give the students assignments. They said, you have to go to a concert and then write a report.
Wow.
So at the average age, when you go to a concert in China and Hong Kong, is 30 years old. Many, many children. Yeah. And that's, you don't see that in Europe or America. Yeah. And of course you have then the internet, social media, which is helping, maybe helping to spread it, especially with young people.
Social media are free, actually?
Yeah, I think, you know, it helps with more young people just getting interested, and because it's so easy to see, oh yeah, I can follow this or follow that.
And at the end, can you tell me something about your instrument?
Yeah, so I'm very lucky to somebody let me use this. It's Italian, of course.
Wow.
Matteo Goffrilla from Venezia. And it actually has a name called the Le Comte de Gabriac. And I Googled it because I don't know who he is. And it turns out he was one of Napoleon's ambassadors to Mexico and to Berlin. And also he traveled to China and Japan and wrote books about his travels.
Incredible history. So how have you reached it?
Well, I was looking for many, many years for a good instrument, and I found someone who wanted to invest in a cello. So I said, you know, hey, I found this because it belonged to a Canadian pianist. His wife was a cellist and she died.
So also with your instrument, you have a very special relation with Italy.
Yes, actually, yeah. I think
It's a good place where to play music?
Well, you can say it's come home.
Thank you, Trey.
Oh, my pleasure.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
If you want to say goodbye to our public, you can play for us.
So there's a Chinese song that we also did in the concerts, written by the same composer. And this is they use it as a lullaby in China, because every child knows it. And when I play it in China, the audience, they go crazy. So maybe I'll try a little bit now.
Okay.
Yeah.